to get Assemblyman Benson to come in. Yes.
Yeah,
And it looks like Senator Weinberg is on.
good.
I am.
Hi,
Thank
yes.
you.
Here she is. Hi, dear. I know you're so busy today. Your aide said that you might not even be able to get on, so we're thrilled that you have a few minutes to lend us. I hope you
Yeah.
remember everybody. We have our ex-president, Andrea Mastro on. We have our current president, Alana Berman. We have Cynthia Stark from our communications. We have Roberta, who's our secretary. We have Rachel Green, who's our one of our vice presidents. We have had a wonderful day. We've heard from so many legislators, and everybody has a passion that they spoke to. So we're really happy. We're really happy. We just heard recently from Assemblyman Johnson, who's going to be running for your seat. And so everything's been really wonderful today. So I know you're probably packing the suitcase on the way out the door.
Not quite.
But we always love to hear about the legislation that you're working on. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. And you've got a very impressive roster of
Thank you.
people speaking here. So I think this is a great event. And I would hope that some of you or many of you sign on as advocates for some of the issues that each of us talks about as we tell you what our individual passion has been. And I think most of you should be pretty familiar with my legislative record, which has concentrated generally on 3 different areas, I would say: women and their families, transportation, which I just heard Assemblyman Benson talk about, and I will add a little more to that, and government transparency. And let me talk a moment about government transparency, because I believe that the old expression about sunshine being the best medication or whatever is really true. And if everything we do as government elected officials is considered pretty open, then I think that we will have produced a more transparent and really accountable government to the people we represent. And I've been working for a little too long and not too satisfactorily right now on a bill to update the Open Public Records and Open Public Meetings Act, which has not been updated in years and was originally written before we ever even heard of the internet. So this is an area that has, as I said, not moved through very quickly, and I could use some sister advocates to work with us. For some reason, particularly when one deals with locally elected officials, just the mention of open public records or open public meetings seem to send them into some kind of an apoplectic shock system. And I understand, as I said, the public sometimes can really be annoying. They are. Sometimes they talk too much. Sometimes they take too much of our time, we might perceive, give us too much input. But hey, that's the business we're in. Those are the people who put us where we are. And I think we owe them all of that time. So I think these bills balance the public's right to know and help municipalities out by allowing them to charge in real time when private businesses are asking for large amounts of records. For instance, what's usually used as the illustration, the local pet store asks for a municipality's list of pet licenses so they can market to them. That's not really what the Open Public Records Act was aimed to do. But since we constitutionally have to respond, we're providing in this new bill a way for municipalities to actually charge the private business for the cost of producing those records. That's one illustration. Allowing local municipalities to have more access to the internet with state underwriting the cost is another. So I would hope that people here might take a look at those bills, particularly if any of you are local elected officials, and maybe sign on to help. So government transparency is one area. Assemblyman Benson talked about transit. You know, because we are the most densely populated state in the nation, and we are in this corridor between New England and Washington, D.C., or to the west when we talk about Pennsylvania, mass transit is an important aspect to the quality of our lives, our daily lives, and it's our economic engine in New Jersey. And it needs a lot more attention and a lot more upgrading. And I would hope that what we have done to make New Jersey Transit a more accountable bureaucracy with a board of directors who have open and transparent meetings is a step in the right direction. But there is a second bill, which I call NJ Transit Reform 2.0, moving through the legislature, which will complete that picture so that people can get from point A to point B, whether it's for entertainment purposes, family visits, or as we learned in this pandemic, we have a whole new class of essential workers, people who had to get to the Amazon warehouses,
Right.
so we could all get those magic packages at our front door, the support staff at medical institutions, at hospitals who help make sure the hospital is clean and food is served and that patients are really well taken care of. They all need a good, dependable mass transit system. So that's a very important unfinished portion of the list of things I have to do before I do finally pack my bag and figure out what I'm going to do with all those plaques on my wall. And lastly, it's the whole issue around women and their families, access to healthcare, the Reproductive Healthcare Act, which we are working very hard to get through this legislature. You know, the right to choose is pretty well protected in New Jersey, but we have seen the courts, particularly at the national levels, at federal and Supreme Court level, starting to roll back issues around women's rights to reproductive health. So we need to make sure that our court cases, all the things we won over the years, are enshrined in legislation. So that's a big piece that hopefully will move through the legislature sometime over the next few months. And lastly, we are finishing up with a group of bills, part of which are sitting on the governor's desk right now, and that I hope he will sign, which really update laws and protect women who might become women or men, who might become victims of sexual assault or sexual harassment on the job. And included in that list, the last piece that hopefully we will get up for a committee hearing very soon is a way to kind of oversee the political aspect, campaigns, and those places that provide political environments. In that bill, we've set up ELEC, the Election Law Enforcement Commission, to be a training portal, to be a place where people can go and complain if there are inappropriate issues going on. We all know, and I'm sure this audience knows, that campaigns, as I say, they're usually consists of people who haven't had enough sleep and have had too much sugar. So we have to make sure that that atmosphere does not go a step beyond and create an environment that people don't feel comfortable in. So those are the three areas and some of the specifics of legislation. I hope that all of you will look at what is going through this legislature, what needs to have a little more support and ideas, and that you will become not only the Federation of Democratic Women, but really advocates for the kinds of legislation we're talking about. I appreciate your support, your encouragement. You know, as I tell people, we hear plenty from whoever wishes to criticize those of us in public life. So it's nice to get an atta girl every so often, a little pat on the back. So you know that there are people out there who have heard and are listening. And I hope you do that, particularly for the women legislators who usually do have the extra burden of being the caregivers of their families, as well as serving in public life. I mean, they're usually the daughters who were taking care of the frail elderly parent, or the moms or grandmothers, as the case might be, who were taking care of the kids in their family. They make the health decisions for their families, and they work hard to represent the people of New Jersey, as well as being the caregivers. So thank you for all you do and will continue to do. And I have another 7 or 8 months, but I have a long list of things that I'd like to get done during that period of time. And some of them I've just outlined. So again, my thanks. This is a great effort, and I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It was beautiful. Thank you. Do you have a moment?
Sure.
Oh, great, great, great. Because we do have a couple of comments and questions.
Mhm.
Someone wants to know, is there any update on the legislation that you were speaking about the transparency of of police disciplinary records? Is there an update on any of that?
Yeah, that is another bill that's part of the Open Public Records
Yeah.
Act that has not garnered a lot of support. You know, we're in an election year cycle, as you all know, and the legislature very often is a little shy about undertaking issues that might cause backlash in terms of the election season. So it would make internal affairs investigations public, so that people would, well, I think certainly citizens of a community would know if they have a member of their police force who have overreacted or overacted in various situations. It would, I think, probably bring a little more care by the police officer themselves. So I think this is an important step forward, and I would hope we'll see some movement on it, but I think this is one of those that could very well wait until, as we call the lame duck, when we become very productive during that period between November and December,
Right.
when you'll see lots of bills passed after the election.
I just heard that recently on the radio that communities with police, you know, the cameras the police wear on them, that the communities that have that have seen a huge reduction in police brutality, police aggression. It was very interesting. I just want to tell you that our environmental justice director, Kim Gaddy, said, thank you for being a champion for our environment, which is really lovely. I think that's a really lovely comment.
Thank you so much. You know, the environmental justice, first of all, beside providing a better environment for all of us, as I said yesterday, I participated in a panel discussion about electrifying the bus fleet in New Jersey, and hopefully we'll get to that stage in sometime in the next decade. Because if we don't have clean air to breathe, none of us are going to be able to function, and we haven't left a better world for our children and grandchildren. And as I say, the air doesn't have to pay a toll to go over the George Washington Bridge. So we are all interdependent in what's going on around us in the country. And I would say it's probably at least 10 years ago when I was taken on a tour by a small environmental justice group. And they took me around, particularly around the area in the waterfront near Newark, where trucks idled for hours as they were waiting to load or unload their trailers. And they idled because in the winter they wanted to stay warm, and in the summer they wanted to stay cool in their cabs. And what that idling did to the communities around, which were mostly underserved and Black and brown communities. So we have to be aware of not only the importance of the world and the air we breathe for all of us, but where it has an even greater impact on minority communities who are living in underserved areas. So this is going to be an ongoing fight. We're not ever going to solve it with one bill or one law. But I think that the environment is very much in the forefront today, and people understand global warming, climate change, and all the issues around it. So you're all going to have to stay attentive through your generation and others to follow. So thank you for that.
Yeah, this is true. We also have a question. Do you think Governor Murphy will sign the women's legislation that's on his desk? Do you think he'll sign it?
I can't imagine that he wouldn't.
Right, exactly. I mean, he wants us all to vote for him again.
Right.
Yeah.
But we will see. There's a whole group, pardon me, a whole group on his desk right now. And this one more coming, the one that I described to you with what I call the ELEC bill, and that sets up this new body to provide a place for people who need training in campaigns, as well as people who might feel uncomfortable in a given environment. So I think the larger majority of those that are sitting on his desk, hopefully we will be having a signing in the not too distant future, and we will have made some steps forward for making sure that mostly women, but anybody, feel comfortable, whether it's in the workplace, in the political environment, in a campaign, in wherever they are functioning. And we've seen too many instances of why this is needed. And it's also an area that's going to need constant attention. You know, anything that's important, and if I leave you with any message, it's don't ever think that we've solved a problem by passing a law. Because adherence to the law, letting it slip into the background, forgetting to name the board maybe that is called for. These are all very important aspects, and it takes constant oversight and constant surveillance to make sure that they are operating the way we intend them to operate. So I know many of us know that just as family caregivers, we have to keep on nurturing, sometimes right through middle age, I'm sorry to say. So as a parent, I say that, and a grandparent watching my teenage grandchildren right now. So you have to keep it up, unfortunately. We can't ever say, okay, check off that box, it's now done, because somehow it never is.
We learned that, that's what we learned in the last federal administration. That's what we all learned, that we have to pay attention. We can't let our guard down. We have to know what's going on. We have to stay aware. I want to thank you, Senator, for your support for women and the reproductive unit. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. We can't thank you enough. I just want to tell you something very quick to this whole group. I don't know if any of you know Dr. Ruth, but some of us from a certain age know Dr. Ruth. I had the blessing to meet Dr. Ruth about a month ago because my husband, he was on a panel with her. She is an amazing woman. And when you said about the sunshine, this made me think of what she told us. First off, she was 10 years old, living outside Frankfurt, Germany, when the Nazis came and took her father, and she never saw her father again. Her mother and her grandmother said, "We're putting you on a train. You're going to an orphanage in Switzerland." And she was waving goodbye. She said this. We were all crying. She said she was waving goodbye to her mother and her grandmother. She knew she would never see them again. And she said she just put a smile on her face. We were all in tears. I mean, it was heartbreaking. She went to Switzerland and she lived in an orphanage with 100 other German Jewish children. She, at 17 or 18, she was fighting for Israel because they were becoming a nation. She moved to Paris. She moved to New York. She said when she was a child and she was in this orphanage, they taught her a French song, and the words were, "Today it's raining, but tomorrow the sun is going to come out." And it was the most inspirational thing to hear from this woman who had this tragedy happen to her in her life. And she's 93. She still teaches at Columbia. She has the same apartment. She's lived in the Upper West Side for 50 years. She was the most, and she's 4'3" or something like that.
I was saying she's shorter than I am. Yeah.
She was the most inspirational person. So when you said that about the sunshine, you mentioned it in a different context. It made me think of her, and it's something that I would like to tell all of you to keep in your heart, that we can always overcome obstacles if we can be positive, if we can look for ways to solve problems. We can always do it, and we can think of all the women who laid the groundwork for us, and of course you're among them. So thank you.
Thank you very much, and I hope to be meeting with some of you in the future. Thanks.
Yes. You know what? We'll get you to come to our Women in Blue Day next year. You'll go see your old friends.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.
Thank you, dear. Thank you. And you're welcome to stay on. Assemblywoman Shanique Speight is coming on, but I haven't seen her. She was here, but then
she is here. She
is here. Great. So Assemblywoman, are you here? And yes, here she is.
Yes. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Hi.
We are so happy to have you. Welcome. We met in one of our monthly meetings. We met your aide, Shadiah. What a wonderful, exciting young woman. And she sang your praises to tell us how much she learned from you. You know Alana, I think. So Alana is our president. Rachel Green is one of our vice presidents. Cynthia is our communications director. Roberta is our recording secretary, and Andrea is our past president. So we're thankful to have you here. So tell us all about your passions, and we're happy to have you join us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's just a pleasure for you guys to New Jersey Federation of Democratic Women to invite me to be here this afternoon. When Shadiah emailed me, she kept emailing me like, okay, you got to make time. You got to make time for them. You know, they're not playing any games. So,
thank you.
I just thank you so much for the opportunity to be here, and everyone else that's on the line today. I'm actually going into my third term. I'm anxious. I'm excited. One of the things about about election season and being in assembly, you got to take that break a little bit to campaign. And I'm so passionate about you know, the legislation and the things that I be doing, I'm like, okay, I got to do both at the same time. But guess what? We was able to have babies, use the bathroom, and breastfeed all at the same time. So I can do this at the same time. So it's definitely,
Thank you.
definitely a piece of cake. So I'm, as you know, I'm a mother of 4 children. 3 of them are actually adult grown children. I've been born, raised in the city of Newark. I actually ran on a school board back in, I believe, 2008. I actually served 2 terms. I was actually the vice chair to our budget chair, Eliana Pinto-Marin. And one of the greatest things about the 29th Legislative District, we are the only female district in the state of New Jersey. So that's one of the greatest things. And I think it gives us, I don't know, this might just be my opinion, but when it comes to female legislators or just women in service and male being in service, I think when women lead, we lead with more passion. And that's what I have been leading with and experience. So, you know, going into my 3rd term and working on the legislation that I've been doing, and Shadea said, you know, it's a topic, you got to talk about women. I said, of course, that, you know, that's what I do. I don't know how to do anything but that. So some of the legislation that I've been working on over the last couple of years since I've been down at the State House, and when I first got elected, you know, it was a big deal, you know, going to Newark School Board and then going down to the State House. It's like, okay, this is definitely a big transition. But however, I remember praying to God and asking God, you know, whatever your will, let your will be done in my life, you know, so that I'm able to serve the community better. I don't want to serve it in my will, but it got to be in God's will. And when we talk about women issues, one of the things that I've been advocating for is maternal health. And when it comes to maternal mortality, when it comes to criminal justice, but I'm gonna just stick on maternal health for one moment. My mother, she passed when I was 18. I was 18 years old from cervical cancer. And she would not have had to die if she had adequate health care. So when it comes to health care and women, that's one of the biggest things that I want to make sure that I keep advocating on behalf of it. And my husband's mom, when he was born, he was her only child. She was 18 years old. And after she gave birth to him, she died a few days later because they left the afterbirth in her. So when it comes to maternal health care and it comes to women health care, I just don't believe it's a debate with me. It's no debate. You know, hands down, this is something that we got to continue to advocate for in the state of New Jersey. And then when it comes to even myself, and knowing that my mother experienced having cervical cancer, then my husband's mother experienced passing right after a couple of days after she had him. I had 4 C-sections, and knowing that New Jersey has one of the highest death rates when it comes to maternal mortality in the African American community. I had 4 cesareans, and I started having babies, having babies at 19, 20 years old. And my doctors never had that conversation with me about different choices that I had. They automatically said, okay, you got to have a C-section because you have big babies. And each and every childbirth was a C-section without me having that conversation of, well, let this be your option. And, you know, serving in this capacity and being a voice for women, letting them know that you have an option. You have an option to change your doctor. You have an option now. But when I was having babies, I'd never even heard of doula care. And over the past couple of years, we have passed a package of legislation, you know, that will help mothers in our state with maternal health care. So, you know, when I had my second child, I remember, you know, laying on that table and they did not give me enough medication. So I was able to feel them to start cutting during that time. And the only thing I could remember was me crying and me trying to tell my husband what was going on. And so they immediately put me to sleep. And I just remember like how instantly I could have passed away, you know, and I was young. I didn't know how to be an advocate for my own self. You know, my husband didn't know how to be an advocate for me, even though we have had experiences, but we just didn't know. So you know, I have quite a few bills when it comes to implicit bias in healthcare, when it comes to, you know, making sure women get the proper healthcare, because, you know, having my own personal experiences and my family personal experiences, this is something that I just want to make sure, especially in an underserved community like mine, that women don't, you know, keep passing and they're educated as to what they're able to do with their birth outcomes, and so that they can have better childbirth outcomes. And it's just so much that I can talk about. And so as being a sheriff officer, these are other, you know, topics, and being a sheriff officer, I work down in working down in the criminal justice system and working in courts. And I have legislation now that actually is moving, and I got to make sure it move. I think it should be going to the governor's desk soon, but I have legislation to make sure that restraining orders are issued in other languages. Oftentimes we have so many women that come down to the court system, and they have a hearing, have a restraining order, and once we give them that restraining order, it's in English, but they can't read the English. So why are we giving a restraining order to a person that can't even read the writing, that the package that's given to them? So whether it's the defendant or it's the plaintiff, they deserve to have that order in the language they speak. So that's one of the other things that I've also been advocating for, and making sure that, you know, women get the proper restraining orders, because oftentimes they don't even know that they're breaking the order that they went and filed because it's not in their language. Another piece of legislation that I've been working on, it comes to, it's BCCO, victims of crime. And the governor signed a couple of pieces of legislation already into law, but one of the pieces of legislation that passed both houses, bipartisan, and I was very excited about that. It was the VCCO bill. A lot of times people are denied compensation because they may have an open warrant. You can have a warrant for a traffic ticket if you don't even realize it. You don't pay that traffic ticket, you get a warrant, and all of a sudden you are a victim of a crime, and something may happen to you, and now you go apply for apply for VCCO, and you're denied, not even realizing why you're denied, because you barely get that answer. So I was happy this piece of legislation is actually on its way to the governor's desk. But I know that this piece of legislation will help so many individuals in my community, because I've had so many individuals come to me saying, you know, I was a victim of a crime. There's no help out here. I don't know why I was denied. And after I start to look into so many other situations, so many other problems when it comes to VCCO and our community, it's just so many things that that when it comes to our community, that they're not privy to the answers, they're not privy to the resources. And if I'm a victim of a crime, if I'm in a hospital, the hospital should also be letting them know you are a victim of a crime. These are the resources that's available to you. But in an area like mine, if we're not disseminating that information correctly, oftentimes they're not able to receive the funding or any of the resources that they're entitled to, because oftentimes you might need the mental health resources, you might need burial resources. Yeah. It's just so many different things. And I have another quite a few bills going that I'm actually working on when it comes to people with disabilities. This is and a lot of the legislation I work on, it comes from like personal experience and people talking to me that just don't come off my hip. As you see, during this pandemic, we have the work from home environment, right? And my sister, she has MS, and she had a son maybe about 7 years ago. However, she had a good job. When she was diagnosed with MS, she was not able to work. And as you see now, and everybody's working from home, and she's been discriminated against because of her disability. She has no cognitive issues. It's just that she has a disability. But right now, everyone is working from home. Right. So there's no reason that people with disabilities should not have the rights to work from home and have as anyone else, because we're all doing it actually right now. We're on a Zoom call right now. We're, meeting right now. So, after months and months of talking to my sister and just hearing her anticipating, oh, I might get this job. And then the next month she said, I think I went through this maybe about 10 to 15 times with her, and I get excited for her, but then knowing that, guess what, she may not get it because of her disability. And I'm just like, wow, this is just so not fair. So, the passion that she had, the passion that I had to work on legislation to make sure people with disabilities have fair hiring practices just like anyone else. It just speaks volumes to what we're going through now during this COVID pandemic, that a person with a disability, person without a disability, we can do the same job from home, and there's no reason that I should be discriminated against. I'm just excited to be here again.
It's wonderful. Everything you're saying, people are like clicking on it right away. Somebody asked a question, what needs to be improved in the maternal health bill specifically? Do you have a specific example of that, like particularly for women of color? And do you have a specific
Well,
example?
what I think when it comes to maternal health and what, if I'm answering the question correctly, and what needs to be improved,
Yeah.
I believe that, okay, I would say just having a doctor, sometimes we get caught up on this one doctor, right?
Right.
And they can tell you feel like it's like you feel like you're obligated to this doctor. If you feel like this doctor is not doing right by you,
Right.
it's okay to change your doctor, because
Right.
oftentimes we don't. I've heard so many instances like, oh, this is what's going on, and I told them, it's okay, just change your doctor. You have
Find
to
somebody, right. Find somebody more responsive, right, to
Yes,
your needs.
exactly. Definitely find somebody more responsible to your needs. And it's almost, and it's to a point in time now where you almost have to call people out on it. And it's a shame, but it's almost the truth. You almost, you feel, because it's even to this day, I feel like I have to doctor myself before even going to, and I'm a legislator, before going to a hospital, because my fear is that they're not going to diagnose me correctly, or they're not going to check into it a little bit more because I'm a woman of color. So oftentimes I look into it and then I go to the hospital and say, well, this is what I think is wrong because this is what I found out. And I'm not a doctor, but I just want women to know that they have choices. They don't have to stay with that choice, that first choice, that second choice, until you feel comfortable with who you have. That's when you should possibly feel okay. And I just have another quick story. I just remember a couple of years ago when my son, he was 10 years old. And I remember, and this is when we talk about the biases, the implicit bias and the proper health care and training with the professionals at the hospitals. I remember taking my son to the hospital, and all three of my sons were sick at one time. And I took them to the hospital, and I thought it was a cold, but I remember because you got to understand, it's three different patients. They probably should have three different rooms, but they put them all on one bed. And so they sent them all home and said, well, just give them some a gas X or a pill or something. So I remember bringing my son, I had to bring my son back, and come to find out it was my son's appendix. They didn't check him properly. So his appendix actually ruptured. And I got him back to the hospital basically just in time. Or
He could have died. Oh my God. I had an uncle who died like that.
Yes, his appendix ruptured and he could have died. And I said, if they would have properly checked him the first time, this wouldn't happen. But then let me tell you what else. This is not even the end of the story. So I remember after the surgery, it was like a month in, they released us from the hospital. It was the middle of a snowstorm. So my husband couldn't come and get me. They had the security guard drop me off at the corner of my house. I remember carrying my son from the corner of my house to my home because we couldn't get into the block. I carried him because he had the surgery. So I remember a couple of days later, he started getting sick again, started vomiting right after this first surgery because he was in hospital almost a month. I brought him back to the hospital. They said, oh, it's a reaction to the medicine. And so I took him home and I said, no, it's something else is wrong with him. And I remember I called Senator Ruiz. This was before I was in the assembly, and I called her and I said, I'm at Beth's, I'm sorry, I'm not staying in the hospital. I'm at this hospital. I need your help. I said, something is wrong with my son. They're not checking him the way they should be. And I'm about to take him out on foot and take him to another hospital. At that time, she made a call to whoever she needed to make a call to. And they started tending to him, you know, a lot more faster, but it shouldn't be because of a phone call that was made. So at this point, his bowels obstructed, okay? So he almost died again. But if I wasn't that advocate for my son, and if I didn't make a phone call for my son, then my son would have died. And I remember I talked to the president of the hospital at that time. I said, how many other parents have left here with their children and their children have passed away? I said, everybody don't know somebody to call. I said, it's not about me calling somebody. I said, now I'm hurt because my son could have died twice in your hands. And if I wasn't that advocate for my child, and it's not about being an advocate for your child, I still had 3 other babies at home. So just trying to maneuver and be that mother, we able to do it somehow, some way as women. I don't know how, but I was able to do it, and thank God for my husband's support and my family support. But if I wasn't, you know, that advocate for him, he could have died. So, you know, as women, we are so much stronger than we think we are, because when the ball gets rolling, we keep on going. We don't stop. So it's just, you know, and doing this role, I use a lot of my experiences to do a lot of legislation because I said, if I went through the situation, I can't imagine how many other women or parents are going through some of the same or even worse situations.
Assemblywoman, your stories are so powerful. You have to write a book. You got to sit down with your Shadiah and start getting these stories recorded and make a little storybook, because these are issues that relate. Everybody can relate to these issues. And you're right. Like, why should we have to make a phone call when everybody should get the same needs met from everyone? And
Right.
It's sad that it has to be legislation, but maybe that's what it has to be. You know, maybe that's what it has to be. It has to be laws, you know. Ugh, unbelievable. Right. Oh my God, I hope we didn't upset you talking about all this. Thank gosh, everybody's healthy and safe and okay.
I think these issues, what it helps me, you know, I was always taught that whatever your experiences are and what you go through is a testimony for someone else. So I don't regret anything happening. You know, you just move on, and it's, you know, it's a reason why everything happened, because I never knew I would have to use it for someone else to help someone else out. And it's just, I just look at it as God's grace that he gave me the mental capacity and, you know, the strength to endure it, because everybody is not able to endure it. So I might be that shoulder for someone else to lean on to help them endure it. So it's not a regret for, you know, to talk about it. It's not a regret for me to go through it. You know, I just feel like some experience you have to have to help someone else.
It's amazing. You're amazing. I enjoyed hearing you talk so much. I think we would love to have you come back and speak to our group again, because first off, you're a doer and you get things done. Somebody even put here, thank you. You're representing our district well. Keep fighting to protect all families in New Jersey. And this line I love. Our health is our wealth.
That's it.
And I love that. I love it. I love it. I hate to say goodbye to you, but I think our Lieutenant Governor is on the phone, and I hope you'll stay and listen to her for a few minutes.
I definitely will. Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
I'm pretty sure. And whatever we can do to help you, please reach out to us. If you need us to put out information for you, please let us know. You know, we have our website, we have a email list that we send information out to, and we're part of a national organization. We're the state chapter, but we're part of a national organization. We have county chapters, as you know. And we're sorry that we couldn't come to Trenton to put out a lunch spread for all of the assembly people, but we're going to come next year, and we're going to try
Yes.
to get some of you to come with us to Washington next year. It would be so wonderful to do our Women in Blue Day in DC with some of the women that were on today. So thank
No,
you.
Thank you. It was definitely a pleasure. It was an honor. Thank you for inviting me. Listen, next year, I don't think you're gonna have a problem with any of us coming next year. We all want to get out, okay? So
Thank you
I'll
so
be there.
much. Thank you, dear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck. Thank
Take care.
you.
Love you guys.
Likewise. Thank you.
All right.
Oh, wow. Very inspirational. So I believe that we have our Lieutenant Governor somewhere. I think I saw
I
her
think
come in.
it dropped off. I saw it pop up.
Oh, well, there was something, while we're waiting for her to log back in, I wanted to tell Kim something. First off, Kim, you know, we really didn't want to push legislators and assembly people into corners to have to answer questions from us. We wanted them to speak to their passions. Hi. Oh, hi, Shanique. Haven't seen you in a while. How you doing? Hungry. Anyway, we did send out a list of suggested topics, but we can talk about that later. Anyway,
no
hi,
problem.
dear.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. And in fact, I want to send it to you. So whatever group you're with, my email is my
Essex
name,
County chapter.
Essex County. I'm going to find you because I want to send you the information. So
Yes.
anyway, all right, good, good. So did
Bessie Walker is our president. Jackie Hinkson is on. She's our VP.
yeah. Oh, I know Bessie. Yeah, good, good,
So you
good.
could, and I'm the treasurer, so you could send it to us.
Okay,
Hello,
great.
Council President Mildred Crump from Newark.
Hello, everyone.
dear.
How are you? I'm getting my massage. I'm in therapy.
Oh my goodness.
That's
He
Jackie.
said, are you going to get on? I said, no, I can't do that. Then I said, oh, I can do that. Put you on there too.
No, you're supposed to be breathing and relaxing. Come
I
on.
am. But work still be going on. Take care, ladies.
Thank you, Jackie. Thank you.
Thank you, sweetheart. My therapist, his name is Dr. Scott.
Hi, Dr. Scott.
He's at St. Barnabas Ambulatory Care, the best ambulatory care center
Oh,
in
that's nice
Essex
to hear.
County.
Oh, that's so nice to hear after the last the last information we got. So this is good to hear. It's exciting. Good to hear.
I guess we could just take a little breather as
I
we're
think
waiting.
so. Yes.
we're
I think
waiting.
so. Oh, Nancy uses them too. Fantastic breast center. Oh, okay. So they must do, yeah, they must do mammograms and things like that. Well, where's Kim? So we could talk a little bit about that. Well, anyway, Kim, I'm going to send you that list of what we did ask, you know, legislators about, but just so you have an idea of what we did. But I love it, and you know, you can help us plan next year because I love the environmental piece. I love the environmental piece. That's my nearest and dearest passion, the environmental piece. So.
Yeah, and especially as, you know, natural nurturers for our families and providers. You know, our health is impacted by our environment, and it's at the core of everything we do. And unfortunately, sometimes if we don't lift it up, it gets pushed down because of crime, poor
Sure.
schools, jobs, and all those things. But, you know, we all are environmentalists because we have to breathe and we have to drink water. So that's what I tell people.
I agree.
And you can see now nationally, so much is happening with the environmental injustices that have occurred for years, and especially in our urban centers. But it's just not urban. I'm dealing with rural communities where they are faced with the same things that urban cities are being faced with. And folks are moving back into the city. So we need to begin to address, you know, all of our issues.
Yes, yes, yes. I want to tell you, I mean, look at the Native American people out west and how all of the nuclear fallout that fell. And I'm telling you, the environmental racism that has happened in this country is mind blowing, and people just don't really realize about all of the issues that it brings up. So I think people like, you know, who are aware, who are involved, we're the ones bringing it all to the forefront, and that's really important. So
Yeah, and then on a national level, that we're lifting it up through the National Federation. I submitted something on EJ. They adopted it. We're lobbying our legislators. Another member, I think it's Dolores Powell, she submitted something on climate. So we definitely, at a national level, we're looking at the environment as well.
wonderful. It's wonderful. Well, send us information. Have Bessie send me in some information. That would be great. And somebody asked about, will this, are we saving the chat? Oh, I was going to say, yes, I should save the chat. I should put it on the file. I should save it so that it's here. Let's see. Participate in chat. I should save it. Dropbox, OneDrive, Google Drive. I guess I could put it on a Google Drive, but then I have to do that. Here, let's see. Hang on. I'm hoping that we'll have the Lieutenant Governor very soon. Gmail. Hold on. Okay, let's see. Okay.
Hi, Ms. Wyman, just as you including this, I just wanted to hope in the future that we could get someone to include in the environmental issues, noise and 5G, the towers, cellular
Oh,
towers.
yeah, yeah. That's a good
That's been
question
one of the
too.
things, that's one of the issues that I'm trying to work with Kim Gaddy, and she's been very supportive. So we want to start addressing that with some of the legislators soon, because it's
Yeah.
affecting everyone.
That's a great idea, truly, truly great idea. Because it's true, these power lines, sometimes you see these power lines in the oddest places, you know what I'm saying?
They're all over. They're where you won't even imagine. They're on top of poles, they're on
Yeah,
top of buildings, all of the buildings.
yeah, and who knows what they're emitting, you know? I know, in terms of waves.
Electromagnetic waves.
Yes, exactly, exactly, and how that affects us, exactly. I don't know
Cancer,
what happened
brain.
to the Lieutenant Governor. I'm surprised that she's not here. Hmm. And we don't have our Bessie on to, let's see, no, Bessie is not here, so. Yeah, I don't know. I'm sorry, I apologize. We'll give her a few more minutes. Does anybody have any questions? Anybody else have any questions? No, I don't see anything, yeah. Maybe she was busy and she couldn't make it and yeah. Huh.
I don't know if Alana can hear us. I don't know if Alana maybe got an email or a
Yeah.
notice.
Let me go check my email real quick. Hang on one moment. Let me see if I got a notice that.
Hello.
Hi,
Hi, can you hear me?
we certainly can.
It's Mildred Crump from Newark.
Hi, dear.
Following two of my leaders, Kim Gaddy and Jackie Hinkson, they shared the information that this was going on. And so between meetings in my on my schedule, I've been running back and forth. This is it's been absolutely marvelous and wonderful. The breadth and the depth of the subject matter has been phenomenal. And I'm glad that thanks to Jackie, no, she didn't accidentally. She said, if you're not doing anything, you will get some good information. I don't know if I'm still a member of the New Jersey Democratic Committee of
Yes,
Women,
you
but
are.
I'm going to join.
You are a member.
I am still a member?
Yes, you are. It's been did, done, and that.
Yes, ma'am. And Kim,
Well, Mildred, you got your question answered. You're definitely still a member of the group, so that's
Yeah,
good. It sounds like
good.
the Essex County group, so that's good.
Mhm.
And
Margaret, I texted Alana just in case
yeah,
someone reached out to her.
it
just
was
to see.
Bessie. It was Bessie who reached out to the lieutenant governor. She's the one who set up the whole thing, and she's the one I dealt with. I didn't deal with the lieutenant governor directly. Bessie took care of it. So I don't even see Bessie. So I was a little worried about her because I didn't see her connected. But
Right, and if Bessie wasn't available, maybe she might have forwarded something to Alana too. So just giving a figure try and see if that was where
yeah,
it is.
ladies, what do you think? I'm thinking that if, we asked the lieutenant governor, we set her up for 4 o'clock and it's almost 10 after 4. It doesn't seem like she's going to join us, does it? Especially because she knows that she only had a 15-minute moment.
And Alana did not get any communication sent to her.
Yeah, I didn't either. I didn't hear back either. So, well, ladies, I'm sorry because she was our kind of our keynote speaker for the end of the day. And I'm really heartbroken that we didn't get her to sign on and she didn't join us. But, she's the lieutenant governor and she must have 1,020,000 things going on.
Mhm.
So I can understand that. I can definitely understand that. So,
Margaret,
ladies,
I would say we probably give her just a few more minutes just in
okay.
case.
Okay, I'm okay
I
with
mean,
that.
you if you said, the other thing too is just when you said 15-minute slot, the first thing that came into my head is maybe she misheard 4:15.
Yeah, not really, because well, you could be right. You could be right.
I'm watching you.
She did receive the same format that we all received. And ladies, don't forget, if there's anybody else that you want to see that we didn't see, the videos are posted on our YouTube channel. So just go to YouTube and type in the search New Jersey Federation of Democratic Women. We'll pop up #1 with our little high heel logo. Click on it. And you'll see the videos from our past meetings and from today, from the assembly people that couldn't make it and the senator that couldn't make it. So Dawn, I bet it's Diego. Dawn Diego, the senator, she's on. Senator Singleton, Assemblyman Holly, and Assemblyman Stanley. We want to thank Nancy and Daryl for getting those people. And we want to thank Cynthia for uploading the videos. We want to thank Roberta for her co-managing today, and Alana for being president, and Rachel for sticking the whole day through with us, and Andrea for sticking through the whole day with us. It was really lovely. Thank you. Somebody asked me I didn't yawn. Well, I am really like the Energizer Bunny. Once I get going, I'm all hyped up and energetic. I'm the kind of person you could put in a corner at a party and I'll entertain myself for hours. Anyway, yeah. Gee, I'm really sorry about the lieutenant governor, but I understand. She's probably crazy busy and.
Well, it was a brilliant day, Margaret, seriously.
Can I tell a short story of how Margaret created an entire movement in Burnett Township?
Woo, I love that. Nancy, I love you. Go ahead.
Well, while we're waiting like 3-4 minutes. So Burnett Township Democratic Committee was created in 2017, March to be exact. The thing is though, the Democratic Committee in our town, which is until recently was very, very Republican, had no party. Like we had no party. We would go into the polls and there'd be nobody running. So we would have no representation at all. So you just, you would just vote and then you'd be like, well, there's only one person, and you'd push the button and it would be a Republican, whatever. So anyway, when Trump got elected, there was the Women's March, the big one in January, right? In 17. So I went to the Women's March actually for closure, not
Yeah.
an opening. Okay. I went to the Women's March and I went by myself. I signed up a week after the election by myself. I didn't know anybody else.
Oh, wow.
And I said, and I knew DC really well because my uncle worked for the Department of Defense for decades, and they live in Alexandria, and I visited them for decades. So I went there, I did the march, had an amazing experience, fantastic, met lots of women. It was great. Didn't realize that like 50 other women from my town went, which was unreal. Found this progressive women's group in town. It was great for Bernards Township. That was unreal. So Margaret then and the Somerset County, Peg's coming on, Federation of Democratic Women, then host the little let's talk about the march at Mannion's Pub in Somerville, New Jersey, right? So I go with a friend and we're going thinking we're gonna drink and eat and just chat. Didn't know it was going to be a call to action, right? So
I remember that night. I remember that night. Yeah,
so
totally. You were like a deer in headlights.
I was sitting in a corner and everyone's like announcing where they're from. And it's, I kid you not, it's like Franklin, like lots of Franklin, lots of more Democratic leaning parties. And then I go, Nancy Dodge Rover, Bernards Township, and people were like, Bernards Township? Doing here, right? It was a joke.
We cracked up. We were like, there's no Democrats in Bernards Township. We all started laughing like, oh, there's one.
Told that to me. So that night I had Margaret pulled me aside with Karen Carroll, and they talked to me, which made me approach Peg Schaefer. So honestly, without Margaret and this group, there would not be a Bernards Township Democratic Committee. And I mean, that's my story. And that's how one person can inspire not only another person, but a movement.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Nancy. That's so sweet.
Since we're waiting for Sheila Oliver, I figured, Margaret did so much work today. And the Federation did so much work. And it was really a very interesting day to hear all the different stories. Everyone had their story.
Everyone has a story. That's right. Everyone has a story.
Well, thank you very much. It was an eye opener. I was talking to my husband about it throughout the day. And Margaret, see, you represent and you inspire.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I feel the same about all of you, though.